Let's talk about comparing fractions. What fractions are represented by the circle model shown on the screen? The first circle model represents 2/3 because 2 of the 3 equal parts have been shaded. The second circle model shows 1/3 because 1 of the 3 equal parts has been shaded. Let's compare the fractions. Which fraction is greater? Well, from the picture we can see that 2/3 is greater than 1/3. We can also take a look at the fraction and think about the numerator and the denominator when comparing. They both have the same denominator. Each fraction circle was partitioned into thirds. So now we just have to look at the numerator. And when we look at the numerator, we can see that 2 is greater than 1. That means 2/3 is greater than 1/3 because 2/3 has a larger portion shaded than 1/3. Let's try another example. What are the two fractions represented on the screen? 3/4 is represented because 3 of the 4 equal parts are shaded. 1/4 is represented because 1 of the 4 equal parts is shaded. If we take a look at the fraction, their denominators are the same. That means we can focus on the numerator. As we can see from our fraction, 3 is greater than 1. That means 1/4 is smaller than 3/4. What fractions are represented by the blue stars on the number line shown on the screen? The first blue star is after the fraction given on the number line, and the fraction given on both number lines is 3/6, or 1/2. That means the first blue star is after 1/2 and closer to 1. It's 5/6. The second blue star is less than 1/2 and closer to 0. It's 1/6. Which fraction is greater? From our number line, we can see that 5/6 is greater because it is closer to 1 than 1/6, and it is after 1/2. Think about the fractions 2/7 and 1/2. Look at the denominators. 7 means the whole was partitioned into 7 equal parts. The 2 means the whole was partitioned into 2 equal parts. If the whole is the same size, it means sevenths are smaller than halves. Think about 7. Half of 7 is about 3, and that means 2/7 is less than 1/2. Take a look at the models. The first one shows 2/7, the second one shows 1/2. 2/7 are smaller than 1/2. That means 2/7 is less than 1/2, and 1/2 is greater than 2/7. Let's compare the fractions 5/10 and 4/5. When I take a look at the fractions, I can see that 5 is half of 10. That means 5/10 is 1/2. 4/5 is very close to 5/5 or 1/2. That means 5/10 is less than 4/5 because 1/2 is less than 1/2. Let's take a look at some models. The first model shows 5/10 or 1/2. The second model shows 4/5, which is closer to 1/2. That means 5/10 is less than 4/5, and 4/5 is greater than 5/10.